part 2 of this special feature, super long episode with my wonderful friend Gideon Nielsen, talking and philosophizing about his 5-month trek. So we are going to continue our journey. Hopefully we brought a few memories back for you in that previous session, because you said you weren't quite sure what happened and where you were 5 months ago. So you'll probably have a few better memories at this point, but this is where I noticed a shift in you. We've obviously been talking a lot about the anger. Mm-hmm. So I think it seems like now it got a bit more emotional, but and dark actually, mm-hmm. In a non-angry way. So are you ready?
Yes.
For a reminder?
Of course, with the sandwich and 2 chocolate, whatever. And now I can get going. This will be a long fucking day. Just looking forward to get going, because walking for me is what keeps me sane in all the bullshit that's happening in the world. And when I say bullshit, just be sure that I really mean bullshit. And bullshit you say when it's something that doesn't make sense, when it is downright off track. Looking for that first marker, and then we'll get going. He dares to look at the fucking truth of what's going on, or to look beyond and to look at the facts of what's going on. People don't dare to do that. And along with that, there is so much logic that you can only see if you ask questions. And I've been fortunate, and I gotta say this, I've been fortunate to ask questions throughout my life. It's been a natural thing for me. I'm not surprised about what's going on in some sense, because I have followed it for the last many years in terms of what power structures and the systems and all that bullshit, what they do. About why are there commercials? Why are there celebrities? Why are there all these social norms and constructs that makes people battle each other? We are all whole. We should all be whole. We should all be together, support one another. But in our society, we are turned towards each other. We are turned to hate each other, to dislike each other. If we have a different skin color, if we like a different political party, if we come from a rich or poor family, if you're homeless or wealthy, it doesn't matter. All these things come through the radio. If you listen to the news, they will always put 2 sides up against each other. Always 2 sides, because it's in separation that we are weak, and that's what they want to do. They want to separate the truth and the wholeness of the human being. That's what they do. Because if they separate you and make you feel that you're less, that you're not a whole individual, part of this universe, part of the whole organic, biological system that we come from in that nature, if they can make you believe that you're not part of that, or separated from it, you're weak. You will be weak to what they dictate to you. And that's the difference. That's the difference between people who are awake, ask questions, and who are not. Because if you just allow the news and the media to dictate how you think, you are naturally being deceived. You will be deceived, not even knowing it. And then when they put a virus up on the news and make you believe that it's the horror of it, not telling you that it's not dangerous at all, not telling you that if you strengthen your immune system, you'll be okay. Not telling you that, either go out in the sun or eat some extra vitamin D or do exercise, eat more greens, whatnot. They're not telling you that. They're telling you to keep away from your neighbor, keep away from your family, keep away from any random person. Don't go into a restaurant without somebody having something on their face. What does that have to do with health? What does that have to do with logic? What does that have to do with being, just a common sense? Nothing. It has to do with separation of people, separation of the most natural thing in the world, which is community, contact, human touch, love, connection, all that good stuff. Please wake up. Please wake up. The reason why I like being out here walking is because I'm not part of that when I'm walking. I'm alone. I'm not part of that whole system. I don't watch the news. I don't do that anyway, but I definitely follow what's going on, But I've also just deleted all my social apps on my phone so I can stop spending so much time on it. It's not healthy. And why is it not healthy? Because it's full of darkness. It's full of fear. It's not full of anything that's good. All that's good is the most natural thing and most simple things in the world. It's the human connection. It's having food, shelter, water, and a purpose of creating or doing something that will do something good for others or the world. Those 5 or 6 things is the only thing that is important in the world. And those things is what is being taken away from you right now. Just look at it. A bit more relaxed today. Yesterday was another really heavy day, heavy night. Couldn't sleep. Just really, some days are really tough. I'm wondering what will happen with me, to be honest. What it means. Just as I finished that other video just now, I feel like, again, the same feeling as I had when I walked out of Alnay. The joy of this is right. Walking like this is right just makes sense to me. It feels good. And at the core, I just feel happy that I'm doing it. And in addition to that, you know, something is pulling in me to do it. So it definitely makes it easier. You know, it's not that I'm big of a dread to walk. It's I'm being pulled. There's nothing else I can say. I'm just being pulled to wherever I'm heading with this. You know, so that's it's interesting. What the fuck does that mean? Will it mean anything? I don't know. That's one friend. That's another friend. That's some other friends. And this is the best friend, because he's showing the way. So, these are my good friends. Welcome to day number 100. Really happy, feel really good today. Had a really nice talk and conversation with a new friend. Yeah, I've not been very good at taking advice. I've been very good at opening myself up to maybe listening to others or taking in advice or taking in other people's positive energy if they want to help me or support me. And obviously not in a really good state, but I think it helped a lot still. It's good. Have another, as the Greeks say, die before you die, so when you die, you don't die. The Immortality Key. The Immortality Key by Brian Moresco. I had that wrong yesterday. Yeah, it's a beautiful book. It teaches us that psychedelics, when brewed correctly, can help you die before you die. Parentheses, the ego, death. So that when you die, you don't die. To me, that is one beautiful sentence. Because I actually feel I understand it. The next thing is to actually have that happen. Kill the ego. Death of the ego. Yeah. I like that. So today is from my grandmother. Today I'm walking for her, thinking about her, thinking about all the memories that we had together, all the games we played together, and all the meals we had together. And appreciate that she was always kind, always kind. She was never mad at me. She was never mad at me. I don't remember any time where she was mad at me at all. She was always kind to me, and that is a big deal. So yeah. There's a lot of emotions coming out in Sangshan Pied de Port in a few days, 3 to 4 days. Wow, it's so crazy. That means that when I've arrived there, that I've walked 2,500 kilometers, or more than. I would say probably close to 2,600, but my own calculations is about, or just over 2,500. Then I have another 1,000 to go, or a bit more than 900 to the end of the world. So wild. So wild. And I feel very light and excited, and a really high vibration in terms of energy. I really feel good. I'm beginning to feel proud. I feel content. I feel joy. It's really amazing to look back and say I really did this. And earlier I had the thought that the reason why, right now my legs are just walking, and they have been for a while, I don't think about that it's hard or whatever. In the last days I've really proven that, I've walked really far. If I go all the way to Sanshan tomorrow, I have walked 160 kilometers in 5 days. I don't think I've done that on the trip. So it's also sort of a conclusion that I'm just in the zone, of walking. and I can just keep going. And even though I feel pain sort of in my legs, I just feel that they're as strong as, or stronger than that pain, And as I said to Rana, who interviewed me a couple weeks ago, pain is a subtle friend, When you have walked far, it's like pain's become sort of a, it's like it's there. It's like the ego, It's there, but you can notice it and say, hey, thanks for watching over me, or whatever. But I'm not gonna pay too much attention to you because you're gonna destroy everything. Just like the pain, so yeah, kind of makes sense. Yeah, so a really nice walk today. Perfect. More than 3 million steps. Yeah, a lot more than 3 million. Yeah, really cool to be here soon. And I'll decide on what tomorrow brings. So this gateway here, that is the official entry as a pilgrim into San Pedro Port and the Camino.
Okie dokie. What are your thoughts taking you back to that deep, deep emotion? I know you were very sad because you and I had a lot of conversations at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, I think I just became more direct, maybe more confident directly or something. At least that was one thing that I can see was a difference. It was not like a victimized human. It was more like maybe going up against still, but more with more power. But I mean, there has been a lot of times, and I forget when it was actually. I think must have been in France, but in the beginning, I think. I definitely was in a very, very dark place, and I've seen the darkest. I mean, when all this began to happen with this in the world, or especially during the trip when all the restrictions began to come, I began to see it as the end of everything. And both, I mean, that was the fear part of it, but I also began to really, I mean, I find it very easy to see through this, see what's happening. Not because I am better or more psychic or whatever. It's just that I just constantly ask questions. I just constantly I just don't take anything for granted, other than if I can see a fact or or if I intuitively can just tell that, okay, this is logical, this makes sense. And I think I was just very frustrated. I live a life where I try to show maybe myself and the world that we are born to be free. I mean, I don't think anybody should live differently than how they choose themselves. And if something else chooses for you in a way where you feel restricted by moving, by being a human, if that is being a human is restricted, I mean, what is that? And it's very I mean, when people, they say sometimes, I mean, I when I feel something, people can see it in my face. It's just so who I am or what I feel is just in my face. Like, so if I'm angry, I'm angry. I mean, I can't really hide what I feel. And sometimes I think that's probably something I should work on just a little bit, so it's not causes maybe. I think it can get better at that, because I think it's not always good in all situations, but it's also an honesty that's just there. And I'm very, with all the BS stuff that I was rambling about, is that I'm just very frustrated when people are being suppressed, or when there's I mean, I think inequality is different from being ruled or controlled or whatever. I think we all have different lives, and but I think when something outside of us or from some kind of power structure really tries to suppress you in very, very sinister ways or dark ways or whatever you want to call that. I mean, that just pushes my buttons in a way where I definitely don't want to be that guy. I don't want to feel frustrated or reactive like on the video there, or like, and of course that happens. But I definitely want to be better at just saying, okay, there's things that I can control and things I can't. And that goes back to what we talked about before in terms of what I can't control other people, and if they have their issues. I mean, if we can't talk about that, or if they don't see anything, well, what can I do? Nothing. Yeah. So that's also part of that. And then, yeah, just realizing what I can do. And part of this trip has also been to really just become a better man, you know, be more at ease and peace with myself. And I think that can make a difference, because then of course I'll be more of that towards others. So I think that's also just sort of a simple realization that is what I can do.
And that's I mean, that's what comes later. But during this kind of this middle phase, yeah, it was to me what just came to the visual that came to me was like a snake shedding skin. You know, you've outgrown it, so you got to that anger point, and now it's starting to peel off. But even that process is a bit painful. So we didn't see the same yo-yoing of I'm really happy, I'm really angry, I'm really happy, I'm really angry. But it was almost like a dawning and a realization, and it felt like darkness, not in an angry way, but darkness in a deep brewing sadness coupled with reality, but still getting on top of you. You weren't quite at that point yet where you could not let it get to you, where you could separate yourself from it. You were still in it, you were still part of it. And there was part of it was it, but it wasn't the same type of anger. It was a frustration, but it was almost a defeatist of I can't do anything about this. I don't know what will become of me. I don't know what will happen to me. I don't know if I want to be in this world anymore.
Yeah, that was the battle to who would win, right? I mean, the battle of the mind. Yeah, where it was actually really deciding being a victim to what I can't control, or be what would you call that? A more wise man, or a wise person, or a wise human that understands, or an aware human, I guess, maybe, that is aware of what I can change and what I can't. I'm not in the shoes of politicians or big business or banks or whatever. I'm not. I'm part of the system, I guess, in some sense, but I'm also, there's a difference, I guess, or in what scale of where I am or what I give. So I don't know, but that's also what I felt more and more the last period of time, that I've just been more and more relaxed. I think that maybe, I mean, because you can have all these kinds of thoughts about how will you react, or maybe this, I don't like the word expectation, but like this idea of we want to, okay, when I arrive, everything will be good, you know. And it's also a realization that no, arriving is part of whatever journey I'm still on. But it's a cycle that is finishing and can that ends. I mean, this journey ended yesterday. Maybe I'm walking further, I don't know. But what I was called out to do is finished. And that just means that something new can begin. And there's nothing that starts or stops that way. You know, there's nothing like a switching board where it just like, you know, it's just being, oh, okay, good, Gideon, you arrived here. Everything is good now. You can just be a happy bee and pollinate all the flowers and be good to go, you know. I mean, and I think that has been sort of interesting to sort of like, okay, I'm there. Okay, I went out to the 0.0 marker there, and okay, what now? Or what does this mean? You know, and you can sort of like, okay, is there something coming to hug me or hit me, or you know, but yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, in terms of the process itself, that stage, it would definitely, yeah, there was some very heavy stuff that came out the first 2.5 months, very heavy stuff. And then I flipped back and forth, it seemed more, I guess, is that, I don't know if that's how you observed it, but where I was maybe very attached to this defeated place in some way. And maybe through the process trying to, maybe not trying, but the process sort of showed that needed to come through as well, like the anger, those attachments and those things, I mean, they had to come through and be experienced as well in some way. And then doing that or after that, whatever is after, has made more room for spaciousness or just being more relaxed. And of course, I'm not sitting here and nothing is done. I mean, I'm still who I am, and I've been through what I have been. But of course, I hope that this experience have elevated me into a place where I'm more aware of what I can and cannot control, and not go into those states of defeat, and really see, okay, what is it that I can do as a human? What is important? And if there are some things that I have not felt for many years in terms of being calm, being relaxed, being confident, yeah, I'm feeling more of that right now. And having this, I mean, I often sort of talk about that the feeling I didn't have that I saw other people have was this confidence in a skill. Like some people that they've gone through an education, or they have learned a skill, or they have something that they are good at something, they have a skill. And I never had that, because I didn't know what my life was about, but I knew that it was not going to be a part of the system in the same way that many people live. Like they've gone through this system of education and they have an 8 to 4 job, and it's just never been for me. And during that, I've always been questioning why am I here? What am I here for? And how can I do what I love? And what is that? And that has been so interesting to look back on and say, okay, I was in this coaching group in 2011-12, where I'm during that time, and when I started traveling, and also before that, my dad and me, we often talk about this, uniqueness as a human being, which is kind of an obvious thing, but I've kept, this vision of the journey in life, and we all on it, and also very obvious sort of, okay, we all living this life, and we just go down these weird paths, at times, or but we all have a journey and a story and whatnot. And then the logo or the idea came from one guy in the coaching group, Journey Navigator. That's a cool, that makes sense to you, Gideon. You always talk about this stuff, and you're traveling, and yeah, okay. And then all of a sudden a book came out, Your Unique Journey is what I called it, and the front cover was, me walking down a path that you can't see ending. And that was before I even started walking. I hadn't even taken a long walk, really. I had been hiking a few times, or the occasional walk. But then all of a sudden I get inspired between 2011 and 14 to walk the Camino, the first one in 2014, the French way of the Camino, which is the one I've been on here at the end. And then the year after, I walked through Portugal, and now seeing after, so that was 5.5 years ago, that I'm living out what I have been interested in, even though it was just prickling. What do you call it? Is that word, prickling? Underneath the surface, and all of a sudden, and that's what I still have to sort of, if I'm 100% sure, but I think on June 7th, when I got the epiphany of walking, I'm pretty sure that on the same day, because I've been through a process of letting go of a relationship for a month, where I've been walking a lot in my neighborhood, and I've done a lot of meditation, and been talking to a meditation friend, coach, for that period of time, to really get me centered and all that stuff. And that day or that morning, I just like, okay, I'm just going to meditate. So I meditate for like 3 hours or close to 3 hours. And of course, that's not recommended because then you get a lot of stuff coming up. And if you're not capable of sort of holding that or whatever, then it might not be good. It might not be beneficial. But I felt like, okay, I need to walk now. I mean, something needs to needs to come through the system, right? So I walked, and I'm pretty sure it was that day. But if it was, I'm not surprised in some sense that epiphany came to me that day, based on 3 hours of meditation or whatever, and based on a month of walking. So so yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but
there are a couple of things to pick you up on. I think that would really be interesting to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
One is what we were talking about, the attachment, and like you say, you're on a journey, and okay, you get there, but actually you're not there. Okay, that journey ends, but a new beginning starts. And I think as people, so often when we're not present, and I think this is why this period of time is so challenging for so many people, because they're being forced to stand still the same way as we would allow ourselves to stand still when we meditate, because it opens us up. It opens us up to lessons, to learning, to curiosity, to epiphanies. But everybody is being forced to stand still right now, and they can't attach to things. So they can't attach to anything false. Which is why it's like a mass awakening, because you can't distract yourself. You can't distract yourself by planning parties and planning events and planning holidays and doing stuff all the time. You're being forced to be still.
Yeah.
And of course, you on your walk couldn't, in that middle bit, I just can't even imagine how far the Santiago still seemed through some of that darkness, but you just kept going. You just kept taking the steps, like you were just resigning yourself, but trusting, oh, well, wherever I'm going, this is going to take me. And like I said, the day becomes that death of the ego. Like I said, that shedding of the skin, there was that transition, which, like I said, I think a lot of people are going through that, not in the same depth, but I've witnessed it at the moment, because they're noticing things that they never noticed before. And then it's about choice again, about whether you react, which is how you were, versus whether you respond, which is, from what I see, how you are now. So there's a couple of things to talk about there. It is that awakening process. It's not, we always tell ourselves we'll be happy when, don't we? We'll be happy. I'll be happy when this happens. I'll be happy when that happens. Well, why don't you try and just be?
Yeah.
Whatever comes, whether it's happy or sad or joyful. And that's what I saw in you at that time. It was just like you didn't attach to the feelings. Just, you know what, I'm just going to be, and what will be.
Yeah, I think the one, what I'm thinking about is just that I think we started talking about that, or that was maybe before we recorded, that all you need to do in terms of what I have done now, or if you talk, we talk about walking and this journey, all you need to do is just take the steps, just walk, keep walking. And I think that probably will become some sort of statement for me. Just keep walking, keep walking, because the process that it generates is what will make you come alive. It really will be. Yeah, what did we talk about?
I think also then within that metaphor, I know where that came from. That was from my last interview, and then the article I wrote. I think I said something along the lines of, the thing is just keep walking, just keep taking the steps. And from someone who's walked 5 million steps in nearly 6 months, I think we really need to take notice of that advice. He knows what he's talking about. But I think from what you just said, the keep walking is also with that metaphor, because it's a metaphor for life as well, right? You've literally walked, but for other people, it's just keep going, don't give up, because when you're, again, it's about being open and curious. When we're open, when we're curious, you never know where it could take you. And again, that's not necessarily a destination. It's maybe a realization about yourself and an opportunity for growth.
Yeah.
And here you are really escalating those energy levels from frustration, anger, victimhood, woe is me, into this period of acceptance, learning to forgive, starting to become at peace, starting to resonate in that level of consciousness more steadily, more finding your feet. I guess another metaphor, really. You know, you're not rocking so much. You just leveled off. And you know, you talked about it, the death of the ego. Obviously, your grandmother died. I know she'd been ill from just before you in June, right? And that was a sad day.
Yeah, I forget the date. What was it? Oh, it was on my dad's birthday, 8th of October. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think what has been interesting often was that the times where I felt a bit negative or felt a bit, okay, walking is not so fun today, or, you know, getting up in the morning and, okay, getting out there again. What has been very interesting to feel is that every single time almost, I don't really think there's been, if it has been, it's been maybe once or twice, but then when I got going after, it would, you know, it was not there anymore in terms of just wanting to walk. But very often, if not all the time, I felt this very curious sort of excitement, just subtle excitement. Okay, I'm walking now because I know it helps me. You know, I know it gives me something, and I know it will get me to where I need to go. And that I think it'll be interesting to see what the next days and weeks will bring in terms of clarity or whatever. But so far it's kind of hard to explain to people that I don't feel I did this. Like the epiphany that I got is so clear. And if you see the last videos from when I left Astorga, so that was a couple of weeks ago, I guess, I began to really realize that this epiphany was so clear, and it's gotten me all the way here with all the things that has happened. And if I had left 5 days later, 7 days later, you know, stayed a few more days in Paris or a couple more off days somewhere, or, you know, it could easily have been 5, 7, 9 days more or later, I would not have been able to finish. But everything has been perfectly in terms of timing, everything. Like, I've been worried if I could finish. I have been scared or afraid that I could not finish. But when that said, the doors to the regions behind me have closed like right when I got out or on the day that I got out. And I'm not saying closed in the sense that you couldn't be there, that something was not open, because there was pilgrims behind me as well, and there has been for the last 2 weeks. So it hasn't been an issue, but it has just been interesting to see that happens though. You know, the regions did close right when I left. Burgos and Lyon was closed before I went there, but opened as I got there. You know, why? And when I got to Santiago 2 days later, the cathedral closed because of the restoration they're doing to the church. You couldn't enter that, so I wouldn't be able to enter the church. And it's not like a big deal, you know. I mean, the church was not very interesting inside because they're restoring everything, so it's not really the experience that I tried before. But it's just constantly I have just witnessed that my timing of it all has just been perfect. Like, based on this epiphany, based on being pulled in this direction, there's, like, when I look back, it's like everything has been, you know, following exactly how. And I'm 100% convinced I was guided now. And it's not because I didn't feel that way before the last months, because I felt that way the entire time. But whatever it is in the universe, whatever you believe in, whatever this energy is that is divine, or whatever you want to call it, God, or divine, or energy, or it doesn't matter. It's there. I'm 100% convinced that something is guiding you if you listen. And it's not because I haven't really listened to that before, but this time it was like, I'm I lived it. I lived, or I lived. What do you say? It lived through me, or whatever. Like, and the day before my 2 last days here walking, the day before it rained, and I'm not just taking days off. Like I'm walking through the rain. I mean, some people take buses, some people take taxis. No, that was not an option for me at any time. So when it rains, and when it snows, it snows. It doesn't matter. I need to walk. It's very rare that I take days off. And again, it's because of the pole. I didn't take many days off, and if I did shorter days, fine. But I didn't feel the need to take too many days off. But the day before Mushia, it rained all day, pretty much. The last few hours it maybe didn't, or the last couple of hours. And the day after I finished, it rained like crazy yesterday. Why was it so? Why was it like that? And it's been just an ongoing thing where I've just like realized that, yeah, I was guided. I was meant to do this. There was nothing I could have done other than just follow the pull. And that's interesting. And I don't know really what to.
It sounds like you've answered questions with just having more questions.
Yeah.
But it's what you said, about perfection. And again, everything is perfect. Everything is perfect. Everything is there for us. It's just we have to be able to see the opportunity and the purpose in it, even if it's a struggle. It's there for us, and it's perfect because, as painful as it might be, or joyful as it might be, it's perfect because it just is. And it's every day that rained and you happened to walk through it, the timing was perfect. Just everything that happened. As much as if you look back at those videos and think you were in a foul mood, or you were effing and blinding and having a crap time, and particularly France, I think you really struggled, which we saw in those videos. That was France, and then coming into the beginning of Spain, and then your mood, which we're going to get onto in part 3. As soon as you got onto the Camino proper, which is where we've just ended that video. But, and you were struggling. You were getting really pissed off with having to find places to stay, variable prices. Obviously, there weren't you weren't walking with anybody. And again, that's where we see a big shift at the beginning of the Camino trail. But as crap as it was, see, so now I sound very British, don't I? As crap as it was, now when you reflect back on it, you're already seeing the opportunity and the perfection of it, because it got you there. It got you there on time.
Yeah.
And so when we're in that moment, so often we're fighting with ourselves, we're fighting with circumstances, which is again what we witnessed. But when we have that time to reflect, and it can be really hard for people, again, when they're going through a tough time. When you hear that word, trust it and trust the journey, and enjoy the journey, and it's like, how the hell am I supposed to enjoy this bloody journey? It's pouring down with rain, it's freezing cold, I'm suffering, I'm in pain, and yet I can bet every single person, if they look back at a tough time in their life, and if they've taken the time to reflect, years later, the pain is gone because you've dissociated, but you realize the perfection of it.
Yeah.
And you're just there now, the beginning of that, with more questions brewing.
Well, it's just interesting. It's just interesting.
Okay, we're going to go to part 3 then. Let's take you on to Camino. Your mood. So we've had this struggle, we've had the middle ground. Is that what you would call? Would you have called that a lot of the mental phase? Because I think you really got into that spiritual phase when you started the Camino proper.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing is set in stone, like in terms of these phases, of course, but definitely, and it also has to do, what I found out is a bit has to do with the mindset in terms of the understanding of the length of your journey and stuff. So that has sort of an intricate sort of weird correlation, or what do you say, culmination, or. But yeah, the beginning is always tougher than the end, I think. I mean, it doesn't. The tests will keep coming, but yeah.
Okay. So shall we move on?
Sure.
Let's get you through that gateway into Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did I say that right? Yeah. When you start the Camino proper. Okay. All right. So we're going to have a quick break. Join us in part 3. Feel on top of the world with Light Changes Coaching. Do you feel like burying your head in the sand, hoping it will all be fine when you come out? Do you know what you want, but no idea how to get it? Are you stuck on the treadmill, repeating the same old patterns, wishing the answers would just be there for you? How great would it feel to have those answers right there in the palm of your hand? Or did you know that there is a way to get immediate answers, fast resolution of inner problems, and quick access to a higher state of awareness? After 20 years of helping people, I have perfected a special technique that allows you to tap into your intuition. Connect with your intuition in just 5 minutes a day using this special technique, Dr. Rana's gift technique, the guided intuition and fulfillment training, and you can have those light bulb moments every day. So get what you want, a job that gets you excited when you get up in the morning, a relationship where you can look across the table and think how much you love that person, a body that you're proud to have and look in the mirror and absolutely love, a bank balance that you're not afraid to look at. My gift to you is simple, quick technique to access your intuition and give you the instant answers you need to get unstuck without having to do lengthy meditations. So head on over right now to lightchangescoaching.com and download yours.